Hello, and welcome to Acting Lessons Learned, a podcast where I, Tiwana Floyd, share short stories of the acting lessons I've learned on my journey in my acting career. I read an article some time ago, I believe it was Rolling Stone, but I'm not sure, but it was musician, DJ, bandleader Questlove of the hip-hop band The Roots, and he talked about the early days and the journey of The Roots. How he didn't realize the journey was such a wonderful time. He was reminiscing back to when they were new artists trying to make a name for themselves, and how they would make mixtapes and send them to various outlets, how they'd cold call or show up to venues so that they could perform, how hungry they were to be recognized. And while he wasn't complaining about the current fame or his current fame, he wished he had enjoyed the process, the journey, the road to success while he was in it. Because at the time, to him, it felt like a grind. But thanks to that grind, that consistency, their perseverance, and their talent, they got to become the international notoriety they are today. Are you enjoying your journey? I hope you are. Being an actor, actoring is hard sometimes. I'm not even gonna front. And it is hard to enjoy the journey. But the moment that you stop enjoying the journey, you should probably take a break, because what happens is we have it's kind of like Pigpen from the Peanuts, Charlie Brown. It's like we have this air around us that you can't actually see. It's not like scribble scrabble like Pigpen, but we have this, our aura tends to diminish, and it's hard, damn near impossible for us to have success. So if you're not enjoying the journey, take a break. Find some things that you really love to do, and then when you fill your cup and you feel invigorated again, then come back and enjoy the journey. It's all mindset. It's about positive mindset and positive psychology. Now, I don't even know where that message came from, because that's not even the topic that I'm going to be sharing today. So that must have been a divine message for someone who's listening who just needed that reminder. But today's story is about the value actors bring. And how some people will say actors suck. Not some people, a lot of people. And I don't know, is it me, or is anybody else feeling like the disrespect of actors has been going on for too long? And even more recently, where it's just becoming more blatant? I don't know, guys. I just think it's ridiculous. And so I'm going to talk about that today. And don't worry, it's going to be a little heavy, because I got to get some shit off my chest. And then we're going to come back together and we're going to get back into possibility. Because like I said, we can't have that heavy cloud on us as we're trying to pursue a career. And maybe this is something that could be cathartic for you as well, because maybe you too are feeling like frustrated by everything that's happening and what we're witnessing happening to actors. So, before I start, let's take it back to the beginning. Here is a question to my actor listeners. Can you recall the first time you called yourself an actor? The first time you proudly said, I'm an actor, without quivering or shrinking. And I'm not talking about when you're amongst your friends. I'm talking about when you go out to events and network and meet new people, and they'd ask you what you do for a living. And that first time you said, I'm an actor. Because for me, once I graduated conservatory and I was no longer working a full-time job because I was booking non-union commercials that supplemented my income, that for me told me that I was an actor. And I told people proudly. I was still living in New York, and the responses I would get were supportive. And I think it's because I was still in the boroughs, and the people in the boroughs didn't really meet people that were acting quite often, not like Manhattan. So I would hear things like, kudos to you for following your dream. Yes, girl. Okay, well, they wasn't saying yes, girl back then, well, but kind of. Or they would say something like, that's fascinating. How is it going? And then they would ask me questions, like genuine questions. But of course, once I was in Manhattan, it was a different story. But still, we didn't meet a lot of actors in Manhattan. I remember I had this manager when I left Bergdorf Goodman. She said to me, so what are you going to do next? And I said, well, I'm going to start my acting career. And she's like, well, good luck with that. And then she walked off. didn't turn around, didn't wish me well, didn't say, that's interesting, or good luck, I hear that's hard, or not many people are doing that. What makes you think you can do? I don't know, just something more upbeat and uplifting instead of like disregard and walked off in a huff. Anyway, once I moved to Los Angeles and joined the Pacific Ocean of actors, the responses were overwhelmingly adverse. Sometimes downright insulting. When I was asked what I did for a living, I'd proudly say, I'm an actor. And some folks would say, oh, the heck? Or they'd say, have I seen you in anything? Which is kind of like a tricky question for an actor to answer, especially when you're just starting out, or even when you've been doing this for years and you're not really starring on anything regularly. And then some people would say, oh, you're an actor? Pfft, so you must be a waiter. Oh, you must be broke. Oh, you must be a struggling artist. The fuck? I couldn't understand why people felt the need to be so insensitive and just plain rude. I dated a guy once who, after seeing me on TV a couple of times, said, oh, so you're like a real actor. My bad, I thought you were like every other actor who says they're an actor, but I never see them doing anything. I explained to him that just because he didn't see someone acting didn't mean that they're not an actor. I told him he couldn't possibly have seen every production on TV, in a theater, or on a film, and he may not have seen his actor friends because maybe they had 1 or 2 lines on a show when the camera wasn't on them when they delivered those lines. Or worse, sometimes actors just don't make the cut and are left on the editing room floor. Whichever the reason, I stated to him he shouldn't discount someone's status as an actor just because their acting career doesn't look like he presumes it should look. It turns out he was once an actor, and because he didn't have the courage to continue, he'd shit on anyone who said they were an actor. He was a bitter being. Of course, we didn't last very long. You are an actor. You are an actor if you've completed a conservatory or a degree in theater. If you perform in a play in front of an audience, you're an actor. If you've been paid to act, you're most def an actor. If you're currently in school training to become an actor, you're an actor. If you do background work in TV shows and films, you are an actor. I am an actor. I bring value and I'm significant. I have never been interested in diminishing myself or my craft. I have never backed down from saying it loud. I'm an actor. I have worked tenaciously to maintain the success I've experienced over the years, and I left New York and moved to the other side of the country by myself, leaving my family behind to reside here in Los Angeles. I have earned the right, by that alone, to declare that I am an actor. Early in my relocation to LA, I observed, let's call it impatient behaviors towards actors. And for the most part, I just chalked it up to it's part of the business. But more recently, these intolerant behaviors have been being revealed and exposed in the most overt ways. And I'm not here for it. Last month, June 2022, because I don't know when you could be listening to this. Anyway, an actor posted a notice on Twitter of how she recorded a casting director speaking badly of all the actors on a video conference audition. He didn't realize that he'd left this actor in their private room. And so while he and a commercial director lambasted the talent waiting to audition by stating, only give these bitches one take, I'm over it. Of course, there was more, but I'm not going to go through the whole diatribe. But actors reposted this. And a photo surfaced of this casting director wearing a black t-shirt that said in all caps, white letters, huge font, actors suck. Why is a casting director wearing a t-shirt that says actors suck? And worse, why were there actors in the comments laughing at this? And why was there an agent and a casting director agreeing? Where are we? How is that okay? In another incident, an actress posted on her Instagram of how a voiceover director whom she had previously worked with on the same project gave her misleading redirects. The actress overheard an entire conversation between the director and the client about how bad of job she was doing. At the time, she was in the voiceover booth, and the director wasn't giving the redirect the client requested. He'd just come into the booth, tell her she was doing great with a smile, go back out into the room, and lie to the clients. And at some point, the engineer neglected or, maybe purposely, left the intercom on. I like to believe the engineer left the intercom on for her to hear the duplicitous director and what the agency requested so that she could execute it. Tracy Ellis Ross was just on The Hollywood Reporter, and she shared a story about how an agent dropped her by saying, "You come with all this stuff. Your mom is somebody, you dress great, you're so fun, and you go in a room and you just don't pop." Like, where is the care? Where is the couth and the decorum of taking care? Even if you're dropping an actor, you could still care. Actor Stella Ward shared a story on the TV show The Talk about getting coaching as a new actress for a film she had booked opposite Tom Hanks. The acting coach, whom Stella was paying $100 an hour for, said to Stella, "I'm just not quite sure how you got this part. My daughter would have been so much better for this role." Oh! Stella followed up with another story about receiving 10 new pages right before a screen test audition. And as she was doing these 10 new pages, she realized she wasn't doing well and asked the casting director if she could start over. And the casting director shot her a look and made her feeling like she was insignificant. It turned out, though, the casting director wanted someone else for the role and had purposely set out for Stella to look bad. The show wound up hiring a new casting director who brought Stella back in, and Stella booked the role. And I am not exempt from actor mistreatment. I attended an event hosted by IMDb to assist casting directors on the best use practices of IMDb Pro. For those who don't know, IMDb Pro, the Internet Movie Database, but the Pro side, can be quite clunky when trying to upload projects using their back office. I was doing a project. I wanted to learn how to properly use the platform more efficiently. I didn't crash the event. I was invited. I sat at an empty table towards the front of the room. A man came over and sat across from me. We exchanged pleasantries. We were in mid-conversation when a woman joined us, sat right next to me, and interjected by telling me her name, that she was a casting director, read my name tag, and asked me what show I was working on. Well, I told her I wasn't working on a show right now and that I was an actor, to which she replied, "What? There's actors in here? I thought this was for casting directors only." And as she scanned the room to see who else might have been an actor, I started to explain that it was for casting directors, and before I could complete my sentence, she shoved a sandwich in her mouth and started eating, as if I sat next to her at the table and rudely interrupted. During the entire panel, this woman kept asking me questions about what was being said, as if I was assigned as her interpreter. The gall. I was so I'm getting mad all over again. I was so annoyed with her. And so I firmly said, "You know what? You should raise your hand and ask them." And she did. And she still asked me questions like I was her interpreter. On another occasion, when I was an intern at a talent agency, the agent's assistant invited me to sit in on a meeting with a potential client, meaning they were interviewing an actor to see if it was somebody they would add to their roster. So I was really excited about this. I thought, I get to be behind the scenes and see how they conduct their meeting and what they prepare and what they're looking for. I was into it. The agent's assistant, myself, and the actor went into the room, and the agent's assistant was really nice and kind at first, and then something took a turn, and he started to insidiously insult the actor. I was confused, but what just happened here? And then I started thinking, well, did they have a past? Did they date in the past and it didn't end well? Were they rivals in high school? Did they have a past life squabble? It just seemed unwarranted. And I was trying to figure out what the heck was going on. And that poor actor walked out of there feigning happiness, but restraining tears. And I'm sure you've all seen the viral incident where TV director Tristan Shapiro criticized actor Lucas Gage's tiny apartment during a video conference auditioning. I gotta applaud Lucas for telling the director, yeah, you're unmuted, and if you just give me the job, we'll be fine. You can look that one up. You can Google it. I don't know what this disdain towards actors is. Where does it come from? I have gone down a speculation rabbit hole trying to understand why actors are treated with such disrespect. Is it because we're at the bottom of the decision-making totem pole and you have to step on our shoulders to continue to stamp us down into the ground? Is it because the actors who want to work so bad tend to eat shit because they're afraid they're not going to get opportunities, and then it kind of like teaches people to treat every actor that way? Is it adult bullying syndrome? I think there's something to that one for sure. Maybe it's the countless fictitious made-up rules of what actors and how actors shouldn't behave and shouldn't do that put actors in a constant state of terror, afraid of making the wrong decision, turning them into needy beings always requiring validation or hand-holding. Or maybe it's the desperate actors who lack integrity, always out to deceive their way into good graces, so caught up in the webs they spin they can't recognize how translucent their bad intentions are. Perhaps it's all these things. But we're still human beings. And unless we're absolutely egregious, unless the offense is just so abhorrent, there really is no need to treat actors the way we're treated. The impact of this contention towards us causes many of my peers to shrink in the presence of casting directors, agents, producers, and the lot. My peers just want to be liked. We just want to be liked for our work. And needing to be liked by anyone who wants to hate is a recipe for hostile behaviors, unwarranted behaviors. I am so thankful and so grateful to my parents for raising me with confidence. But man, I'm a human being. And this air of blatant and insidious disrespect just sometimes it takes a toll. And that's why I'm talking about it. Because I've had people try to knock me down a few pegs and build me back up. Sometimes I'm unaware and recognize the offense later. Sometimes I catch it immediately and have to discern how best to handle the violation. And it's never a good position to be in because sometimes I have to just eat it. And sometimes I'm just like, today, fuck your couch. And I just have to run the risk of never being called into that office again. As I've stated in past episodes, I all the way subscribe to the tough New Yorker persona. Native New Yorkers are ready to stand their ground in a slight. I don't think we want to be that way, but it's how we defend ourselves. It's our armor of protection. And I think because I'm quiet, reserved, and wear glasses, people want to try me. And I have to remind them or let them know, don't let the glasses and the quiet fool you, son. I'll get at you. Okay, I'm taking a breath. At the core of my being, I practice peace and love, and I'm not always successful because I am human. It's a heavy burden managing unwarranted offenses. I sit in faith, and I remember I am protected by the Most High. And to quote Bob Marley's, "Who the cap fit, who Jah bless, no one curse. Then Jah will pass the worst. Who the cap fit, let him wear it." This episode may sound like a manic tangent, but I know I'm not the only actor experiencing and witnessing this. I don't enjoy watching actors under siege, as if we show up empty-handed with no offers of value, as if there's no talent, no skill, no resiliency, as if we are not human beings. And if anybody is out here feeling, it's definitely us. We are a significant component of storytelling. We are poignant and powerful in all forms, across all mediums. And when we step into that belief, that knowing, we start winning. We start expanding our creative outlets. I can't leave you with this heaviness, so I want to remind you that there are still good people in the world. There's still good things happening. There are casting directors, agents, writers, producers, and directors who are upstanding people who genuinely want us to win. They make space for us to thrive and to present our creativity unapologetically. They exist. So for all of those folks who want to take a crap on actors and say we suck, there are more people who actually love and appreciate what it is that we do. And so we just have to align ourselves as actors to be in the flow of attracting the right people. They exist. They exist. I have met them, I have worked with them, and I'm always excited to make their acquaintance over and over again. Beloved actor peeps, I want you to do this with me. Back erect, head high, while speaking from the diaphragm. Let us continue to be proud and say, I am an actor. I am significant, and I bring value. No more of this shrinking from embarrassment or trespasses against us. I walk into supportive and unsupportive rooms and unapologetically take up space with my creative offers. I'll say it again. There will always be people who think actors suck. You know what? That is their problem. But what we will not allow as actors, we will not allow those suckers to define us, and definitely not let those evildoers discourage us or make us feel like we have nothing to offer. We're going to keep getting back up and keep endeavoring and keep becoming the storytellers we set out to be, so that we fulfill upon the goals that we set out to accomplish. Actors bring value. We bring value to everything we do in more ways than one. I hope you'll join me in saying this. I am an actor, and I am significant. But I'm waiting for you to say it. Thank you for listening to this week's episode. I had to get that off my chest. I feel better. I hope that you feel better. And I hope that you just remember that there are people out here supporting us in spite of those who say we suck. And actually, they suck. They suck for treating people that way. Join me every other week for new episodes. You can follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Acting Lessons Learned Podcast. And if there are any topics you'd like me to cover, drop me a line on the contact page of my website, tiwanafloyd.com, and I'll see how I can make that happen. Thank you again for listening. I hope you learned something new or received some inspiration to stay in the game and enjoy your journey and know that you are significant and you matter. Always remember, listen to your intuition. Follow the prompts. Your intuition always knows best. Hone your hearing so that you can hear what's being said to you. That's your guiding light. Until next time.